Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Revolutionary Podcast. My name is Ron, as always, and it's really good to have a good time talking to you guys about things that matter to me and hopefully matter to you. Um, and today is going to be something specific that I talk about. Today, I'm actually going to speak about something that's been bothering me for quite some time, but I have yet to have kind of a way to really put it in put it in kind of put it into terms where I can relay it on to my brothers and sisters in a solid capacity. And the big thing that I'm looking at right now, and I kind of want to tackle is one of the things that I feel is one of the many things I feel that it's contributing to our decline, not as just blacks, but as blacks, whites, Hispanics, and today's topic's gonna be about welfare, and not only welfare of each community, but kind of how it affects us, and the goods and bads that kind of go along with it. I've done a ton of research on this now. Been reading through it, as many articles as I can get my hands on, and I'm gonna kind of give what it was and what it turned into, and kind of just go from there. I have no clue how this is gonna go, but we're gonna go down this route, at least together. So the first thing that I want to talk about is exactly what is welfare. So I know we have the welfare programs that's been instituted by the federal government. You got your SNAP, you got your TANF, um, and other federal aids to assist people living below their means and living below the poverty line or in extreme poverty, which is 50% below the poverty line. And the big thing about welfare is if used correctly, it could be quite the tool in order to get people from point A to point B. There's plenty of people who grew up on welfare, who grow up on welfare, and at that point, if their parents have decided or their parent decides to push forward and figure a way around the obstacles that's currently in front of them, you can actually use it to make something of your life and do something. And I get a lot of pushback over my views on welfare because we're going to go ahead and say it outright. There are people that abuse the system. There are your, historic welfare queens. There are your historic abuses of the system. Anytime there's money to be made, there's always going to be somebody that's going to look to take advantage. And with that being said, when you're looking at welfare in general, you're looking at a program that has a potential to get people out of poverty and into something very, very special. And somehow we've managed to miss this mark almost continuously. Since this really took its turn when Clinton was in office and that was a Republican controlled Senate, and they started really kind of digging into these new welfare laws, their point was to reduce welfare dependence in order to get people off of it and back into the workforce. A lot of problems they didn't think about. A, childcare for single mother households, and B, income and wages. And so what happened with welfare is kind of a lot of what's happening right now, actually, with the pandemic. Because you have a lot of people that find it that they can make more money not working than working. I can only tell you how many times I've went around, I've looked around, I've driven from neighborhood to neighborhood, and I've seen countless stores with help wanted signs posted to their windows. I mean, hell, why would I work if I don't have to? Why would I actually put in, blood, sweat, tears, and my hard earned time and effort when I could go ahead, do follow the path of least resistance and get the most reward for it? So, all in all, the welfare system was something that was supposed to be good, didn't continue to, it wasn't really thought out, and has led to a series of problems in which we have now. And it kind of brings me to this next point. The biggest issue that I see is not people utilizing welfare, but the limits imposed on it. Because as each of the 50 states differ in what threshold you have, the one thing I do notice is for people that are currently dependent on welfare, there's not really an avenue to help them and assist them with getting jobs that match what they should be making in order to support themselves. I think welfare should always be a bridge. I don't think it should be a means. I think it should be a bridge. And I think it should be a condition on working. And that's something that we've missed. Because if you can work, you should be able to. Not all work pays the same. So while you're getting this experience in your work to make a better paycheck, there should definitely be some bridge to help you fulfill your basic needs. And I know a lot of people hear about universal basic income, and I don't believe in that right now. I just don't see the time because, there's no equality of effort among the citizens that's in this country. And if you want an example of that, you can see how many people have decided has decided against going back to work and decided that what they're doing right now is just a better idea. But to go back to my original point with this, with the welfare situation, it should be a bridge. It shouldn't be a means. And with the current welfare situation, since the original law was enacted in order to get people off of welfare within 5 years, the one thing that should have been done is, along with getting everybody together on this welfare issue and bridging them to where they need to be in order to make the money that they need to buy their basic necessities, it should also be helping these people get into the workforce, whether it's community college scholarships in order to get the required learning and skills necessary, or whether it's getting them together with a specific sponsored job or a specific sponsored company in order to get them in front of the right people that pay enough to pay a livable wage and a livable paycheck. If we don't kind of relook at this whole welfare thing, we're going to find ourselves at a situation in which grows out of hand quite quickly. I mean, we all see what happens in most welfare-dominated communities. Good luck with the schools out there. Good luck with getting enough adequate nutrition to these kids. And good luck finding yourself in a position where you can lead by example and teach your kids that hard work does pay off. Because when it comes to the point that you have to not work in order to make enough money to support yourself, then we kind of start rewarding giving something for nothing. And that's not the way you really want to raise a society. I will say this though. The idea of welfare is the bridge that I've been talking about. And if you find yourself on welfare, you find yourself in a position where you're at a low point in your life and you need the help that you require in order to get back on your feet. Welfare is a great option. All of these programs, TANF, SNAP, like these are great options. Here's the thing though. You should not want to stay on that. And I know I'm going to get a lot of pushback, I usually do, about my views anyway, about, well, everybody's not doing it, but some are. And this is for those some. Because if you're already on welfare and you're trying your best to get off, you're doing exactly what you need to. And I assure you, you're going to be in a position to do that as long as you continue pushing. But for the ones who aren't, the ones who's pulling and contributing to the $957 million spent on welfare without doing anything to get off of it, this is not how you progress. This is not how you progress your family. I grew up on welfare. It was important. But the one thing I knew while I was on welfare, while I was using all of these government assistance programs, was that I would never do it again when I was an adult. However I had to go about that route, I knew that I would never do it again. And I feel like that art is lost. And that willingness and that drive is lost among a lot of people, especially those disenfranchised within these communities. But here's the thing. You cannot rely on someone else to give you something and you advancing off of it. And if someone is giving you something, I implore you, dig up whatever pride you have and get as far away from that help as possible. Because that help that you're receiving does not come without a price. Be it today or tomorrow, you will have to pay that back. But it goes on to the next thing. How did we find ourselves dependent on welfare, especially black communities? Yo, how did this happen? And I'm going to put it the best way I can. I get Jim Crow and I get racial disparities when hiring. I get it. I get that John fucking Smith probably has a better chance of getting hired over Derquise fucking Johnson. I get it. Yes, that is a real name. Yes. But I get it. Here's the thing. In moments like this, you have to make yourself undeniable. You have to. You're not going to get the same opportunities that somebody else has. You're not going to get the same look that somebody else has. So you got to be better on paper than somebody else. I get it. It's not fair. Life isn't fair. It's not the point. The thing is, the game is set so that you have to do enough. You have to do more than enough to get to where you want to be. When I joined the pipe fitting union, I didn't come through with my hat in my hand asking for a handout. I knew that I had to pull off something in order to make myself more valuable. Being even just military wouldn't help me. So I went to welding school. I went somewhere where I could learn something. I got some time actually being in the field and working with my skill and my craft before I brought it to the desk at a pipe fitting union, to make myself valuable on paper. No one's going to look at you with a high school degree, no skills, no trade, and no ability to make anything and hire you on to a job that's going to pay you a living wage. It's not going to happen. We can cry raising the minimum wage. All that's going to do is raise customer product. Is going to raise the price of the customer product. You're not going to make money with an English degree. You're not going to make money with a history degree or an art degree. You're just not. What you're going to find yourself in is a hole in which you're paying $150,000 for a very useless piece of paper that you earned for a job that you have that you cannot even remotely afford to pay this loan back. And the government will take their money. So it's just sitting there paying off all of these loans, paying off this money, paying off your rent, paying off any money you need for food and shelter. You find yourself at square one wondering what happened. Man, I used to have this English teacher. She was so bitter when I was in community college. Super bitter. And she was angry at the fact that she taught the class, but she would be more than happy to tell us that she was also serving at another job because apparently the college didn't pay enough. And I'm thinking, like, wait a minute. You knew what you were doing when you took this job. And you mad at the college. Listen, especially my brothers and sisters of color, and even my poor white brothers and sisters, because you're in a caste system all your own as well. You have to be better on paper than most to get what you want. I don't think you needed it. College ain't for everybody. Hell, I didn't finish college. But I did something with what I got. And I'm very, very happy with the way I live. Some people, you need college. You want to be a doctor? You want to be a lawyer? You want to be a physicist? You definitely need to go to college. You're going to learn things there. But if you don't even want to go to college, you want to be some high school dropout with subpar grades, with no skill, no trade, virtually no smarts and intelligence, you're going to find yourself in line to repeat the same mistakes as your ancestors and your neighbors around you who has nothing to do. This is how we find ourselves on welfare. You find yourself around an entire community of people who can't build shit. Can't make anything. I see a lot of these companies. I got a soft spot in my heart for farmers markets. Because most of that is built around people who actually decided to do something and make something. And I'll sponsor them on any day. Anybody want to plug in the Denver area, you just let me know. More than happy to help. But we've turned into a group and a community without skill, without intelligence, without the ability to design and implement a plan or a program. When was the last time you saw a mostly black construction crew? or a ton of carpenters. You look at these CEOs and these rare black CEOs of these companies, and they tell you, hey, I wasn't, people will confuse me for the kitchen, for kitchen help, or think I was on the wrong floor. It's not because this person wasn't qualified. It's because it's such a rarity that it actually takes people by surprise. My goal here is to make sure that no one has to be without and has to live in poverty. And the only way you escape poverty is by having a skill or a trade good enough to earn a livable wage and afford your way out of it. I see a lot of people complaining nowadays, especially, about how bad it used to be. Do I agree that it used to be terrible? Of course I do. But are you going to tell me that that's the reason I haven't advanced? I can't accept that. We are way past the age where your skin color dictates what happens. This is the age of accountability. And until you decide to make a stand and be accountable, you'll never see progress, no matter what color you are. Here's the thing. Welfare, at its core basis, is meant to be a bridge. If misused, welfare will be the thing that continues to keep you in poverty, in the ghetto, in the trailer park, in despair, in a terrible community, eating terrible food, around terrible people. Welfare will keep you there. If you find yourself ever on it, it's an incentive to get as far away from it as possible, as soon as possible. Ladies, I know there's a huge point on you all for the fact that a lot of people think that, you're just intentionally going out and having these kids and trying to collect as much welfare as possible. And I'm going to be the first one to say I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a second. Now, here's the thing I will say. It's harder to earn the education you need to get a job that pays well with a kid. It's even harder to do it with two. See, at the very end of the day, you have control over your own life. You cannot make a life for yourself lugging around kids as early before you out of high school. It's not feasible. It's not possible. Why would you make life harder on yourself than it needs to be? And that's what most people do. Especially nowadays, we're in a position and we're in a culture and in a society where when things don't go right, people tend to blame someone else. People tend to blame someone else for what has happened. You blame someone else for what's been done. You blame someone else for the fact that you can advance. Blame someone else for the fact that other laws have made it almost impossible for you to advance now. The sins of ancestors, be it white, Hispanic, or black, don't exist in this day and age. Is it good to remember it? Yeah. But we've come so much further than where we started. There's no reason we should have generations on welfare. There's no reason we should have literally three levels of descendants on welfare. Something went wrong. And if we don't learn from history, we're only doomed to repeat it. And so far, we find ourselves in this loop that we just cannot escape. This welfare thing, it was designed to look good. It's designed for votes. We'll kick you a little cash, you pay for our votes. We'll kick you a little more, you pay more for our votes. Because it looks like we're taking care of you. But you're not being taken care of. You're still in some rat or roach infested apartment building on Section 8. Riddled with gang violence and crime. This is not a way to live nor raise children. Welfare to you should be a temporary assignment, which at the very end of it, your goal is to get as far away from it as humanly possible. I don't want our dependence to be on the government, because they're never going to raise urban areas out of poverty. It's easy. Most are ignorant. They're chill votes. They're easy votes to grab. They have no incentive on doing these things. And so if they're not going to raise you out of this poverty, you have to raise yourself. You have to get off of this cycle of welfare dependence, where somebody's spoon feeding you dollars enough to shut you up and buy your vote. Because the second you can get away from that is the second you can start forging your own destiny, and you can inspire somebody else who can inspire somebody else. And then this can turn into a big snowball effect that can raise an entire community, because rising tides, high tides raise all ships. That's what I want. I want to look down the street at an old community on the south side of Chicago and be like, damn, they did something with that. But we're not going to do anything at all until we decide to take it among ourselves. We have to take this, we have to bear this and do something with it. Because if we continue to depend on the government to take care of us and continue to blame them when it goes wrong, at some point you guys are going to start realizing, like, man, I think they may not have our best interests at heart. In which they don't. Never have. No further, no incentive to. No reason to. So, all in all, the big thing about this is we have to make sure that we eliminate our dependence on this government entity. We have to gain the skills and the trades and the knowledge necessary to earn a living wage, because McDonald's isn't going to work. Fast food and DoorDash isn't going to work. And finally, we have to make sure that we're there for one another in order to get off of this government dependent program, in order to bring our own communities up, because no one else would do it if you don't. But as always, it's been fantastic talking to you all. I'll be back and giving out a couple more little tidbits every time I got. Again, I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there's any person on this that's listening to this podcast that wants in on this podcast, wants to talk, wants to have a chat and conversation about what's going on, I'm more than happy to do that. Just let me know. I'm always available. You guys be strong, be safe. Thanks for listening to the Revolutionary Podcast. I'm out.